A spiritual war is raging. I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean that very literally. And I don't say this lightly. For the last 5 months, something which has been going on for the last at least 200 years at a high level, as discussed in my book, Exposing the Expositions, and certainly something that's been going on higher or lower in one form or another for 10,000 years. A spiritual warfare is culminating right now. And it's culminating with the hypnosis of the human population. For the last 50 or 60 years, humans have been slowly more and more hypnotized, more and more had their belief structures placed into very specific boxes, very specific things of which humans are supposed to think and believe. But the point we've reached now is beyond even hypnosis. It's more of a magic spell. A black magic spell is being perpetrated and sent out throughout the entire earth. If you wonder what it is, just turn on your television set, open your newspaper. What you're seeing is a magic spell. And the frightening thing is, the majority of humans are falling for it. They are being charmed. They are being hypnotized to believe it. And what is the magic spell looking to obtain? Well, it doesn't take long to see what's going on in our current reality. To have all remaining freedoms which humans have to be taken away. To have all semblance of what you might call humanity, humanness, taken away. All the things that a native Indian or an Aboriginal or a Siberian shaman or a Cathar or a Gnostic or any of the early traditions of the world would have held clear as this is tree, this is bear, this is fish, this is human. The things that are human are being wiped away before our very eyes. Can you imagine that a majority of the world's population, mothers are afraid to hug their own children? Think of that. Never mind, hug their next door neighbor, hug their friend, hug their children. They're afraid, they're terrified. I know some parents who haven't allowed their children to visit them for months. All because they believe the magic spell that's been placed on them. Again, I don't say this lightly. This is serious business. Well, serious within the dream business anyway. And it's going to be a very interesting, what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to be interesting to watch what humans are going to choose. Are humans going to choose a path to regaining freedom, regaining and holding their humanness? Or are humans going to choose to believe the fear, to believe the terror, and to do whatever the saviors tell them? The real savior is within. The real savior is the gnosis, the Greek word for wisdom, the original foundation of all religions, inner knowing, gnosis. Are you going to be a Gnostic? Break the magic spell? Look within to get an answer? Or are you going to believe what you're told to believe? Are you going to act the way you're told to act? Are you going to do what you're being told to do? Make no mistake, this is the next few months to the next few years, if it gets that long, will determine perhaps the next 1,000. What are humans going to choose? Please recall that when the Catholic Church decided to kill off the Cathars and the Templar Knights, because they actually killed them off at the same time. That's a historical lie, that they were two different periods. But when they killed off the Cathars and the Knights Templar, both of those groups, very rigidly connected to nature, to gnosis, and to knowledge, chose to be burned at the stake rather than convert, which would save them, which would allow them to leave their fortresses and return to the world. I have great honor for the Cathars, great honor for the Knights Templar, that they chose death over giving in. They chose death over giving up not what's their belief, what's their gnosis. Their gnosis was more important. And they would choose death rather than living without it, rather than living as a non-human. What's going to be your choice? We're just talking about religion here. I'm really shocked when you think that the churches, temples, mosques, all of these things were closed worldwide. Just shut down. Which is supposed to be the very thing that a person following the faith should have as their center point, as their place to go when they are confused, when they're frightened, to have a place of central, being centered, being balanced, being at least comforted. And all these things were closed. And what's amazing is the religious leaders, who are supposed to be the ones who actually care for the flock, who care for the people, allowed them to be closed. Again, as much respect as I have for the Cathars burning at the stake, I have the same respect for various pastors and priests around the world who allowed themselves to be arrested opening up their church, or opening up their mosque, or opening up their temple. Think of that. A pastor or a priest was arrested for opening their church. Think about that. Really start thinking about what you're seeing on a day-to-day basis, what you're hearing on a day-to-day basis. Is it true? Is it inner gnosis? Is it a black magic spell being washed across you? I don't want to go into detail of the black magic spell, partially because it's highly likely this video would just be erased, removed. But there's lots out there. If you know where to look, you will find some very good people providing outstanding information on various levels, from medical doctors to outstanding researchers, sharing where we really are, where we've just been, and where we're likely headed. Yes, a spiritual war is upon us. It's not the first spiritual war that's been fought here. Maybe it won't be the last, but it's the one we're in. We are actually in this battle right now. And pretty soon you're all going to have to start making decisions. What actually is important? Is it doing what you're told? Is it following your fear and doing anything possible to have a little bit more time? Or is it to live fully as a human, as best as you know, as best as you've known up to this point in your life, and just live that way? For how many days you're allowed to live it, you live it. Not once giving in, not once going to the magic spell, not once letting the black magic change you. That's the question. And it's the question that I think a huge amount of the spiritual community will never even consider now. And that's why I'm sending this video out. That's why I'm doing this. Are you going to finally stand up, or are you going to hide behind your Tibetan singing bowls and your crystals? Are you going to hide behind your positive vibes and your mantras? Or are you going to take a real solid look at reality a real solid look at the parasitic nature of this reality you know. And are you going to follow your inner gnosis? Are you going to follow what the deepest part of your humanness tells you to do? Or are you going to follow your fear? The end result of all this will be, what is the majority of the 7 billion going to choose? We'll see, won't we? Hello, folks. That's a little inside joke for a few people who will get it. Here's part 2 of spiritual warfare. And there's no question a spiritual war is going on right now, and has been going on for, as I say, hundreds of years, and is moving into very high gear right now. I realized how high it was because as soon as I finished the last video and put it out, I've been under quite heavy psychic attack for the last week. The attacks have been quite intense at times. I even had well, I don't want to say exactly what happened, but it's certainly been enough to get my attention. And I'm just a simple guy putting out some information, 200 or 300 views, and that's enough for the dream, for reality, to kick back at me. And I think that's enough to certainly tell me, and hopefully to tell you, that this is serious business in the dream. Within the dream state, the war is on. The war is on. And yeah. So, I'm glad I took a week to just steady myself, just see where we're really at, to hear some of your questions, to hear some of your comments from people who have sent me emails or have sent me comments here on the last video, to really see, okay, what do I want to share with you next? And I think a lot of what to share now is, so what to do about it? How do we handle that? And generally when you look out there, anybody talking about any of these topics, and have been for decades, are all saying about, we have to awaken the masses, you have to get the message out, you have to find ways to find new ways to talk to people and get things out there. No. If you think you're going to awaken the masses, you're wasting your time. You are wasting your time. The masses are the masses because they are hypnotized. They're heavy. They're heavy with hypnosis. They're heavy with judgment and belief. They're heavy with, heavy with hypnosis is the best word to use. And you are not going to unhypnotize them. Tens of thousands of people have said that, have tried that, have done their best, and the result has been a colossal failure. So if you want to go and be a colossal failure and go out there and awaken the masses, good luck to you. Because you're going to find out really quickly how much of a waste that is. One of the most amazing things to show this hypnosis was, if you're watching some of the protests that were going on in the United States during the main protest, and you would see the protester with a mask on, and they'd have on the mask written, "I can't breathe." I mean, can they not see? Well, of course they can't see the incredible irony of that. They think they're saying one thing, they think they're out protesting one thing with that statement and the way they've used the statement, but actually they're saying something else. You can't fix the masses. It's not going to happen. The other thing is, the other one I see out there is waiting for this, there'll be some great awakening, there'll be some wonderful movement to another dimension where we're going to transform in this. No. Okay, maybe it'll happen. Great. If it does, fantastic. I'll get on the train and we'll all ride into super happiness together. But again, that's not been the experience at all in this reality, and it's not going to be. You have to really see that. That's just egoic, wishful thinking. And as long as you want to stay in your egoic, wishful thinking, great, fantastic. Go awaken the masses, go wait for the great transformation. But here's what you can do. What you can do is prepare yourself for what's coming, and prepare yourself for your own personal transformation, personal as in one singular, you. Your own personal transformation. Either transformation while you're still alive or transformation as you move into death. That's what you can do, A. B, you can help maybe 5 people, maybe 10 at the most. 5 or 10 of you who at the very least can be spiritual friends on the journey, you might say, or transformative friends on the journey, if you don't want to use that spiritual term. Transformative friends. Ones that you can learn to trust, to care for, and be with one another. And don't expect this to be your close family. Don't expect this to be your friends. This might be people you've never met to this point who might have to be your 5 or 10 ones that you can really work with and who can work with you. But that's part of what you're looking for right now. You're looking for the ones you can work with. Forget the masses. What happens to the masses is going to happen to them, and I think it's going to happen. It's going to be by the time the masses realize what's just gone on, it's going to be too late for them. So let them be. I had a chance to talk with a friend of mine back in Canada this week, and very smart guy, really astute, and I thought, okay, I'll use him as a test. I wonder if I share some of these things with him, the real detail, as I'm not sharing detail in these videos, of course. I'm just sharing generalized information that you will hopefully get and feel and understand and know what I'm talking about. But for him, I gave detail, just out of curiosity. And I was met with a wall. I was met with a wall of actually anger for trying to help him. And that's what it would be for 5 billion if you try. Don't do it. Your own transformation. So what are some of the things you can do for your own transformation? What are some of the other things you can do that I suggest anyway would be helpful? Well, one is not only to get into nature as much as you can, get away from your screens, get away from your television, get away from electromagnetic frequencies if possible, and spend some time in nature. Allow your mind and your body to just calm down, de-stress, give your mind a chance to think clearly. Secondly, I'd recommend while you're out in nature to go and pick a number of really good medicinal plants, particularly medicinal plants that are good for your immune system. The immune system is very important to keep strong right now. Elderberry is a great one for that, but there's all sorts of things that you're going to find in your area, which will be different than the area I live. Go out, get some medicinal plants, dry them, and you have them for the entire summer. So that's one of the first things I'd recommend is a really good stocking of medicinal plants. Of course, as I always say, don't just take something from nature without leaving something. Leave an offering, leave a gift. Even today doing this video, I've already left one offering, and I'll leave a second offering when I'm done to the space for letting me come to do the interview here. So leave an offering if you're going to take something. The next thing you have to get, I think, understood is the influence of parasitic entities and demonic entities on people. I would probably estimate at least 90 to 95% of the human race has some sort of parasitic entity draining energy. And at the very worst, all it's doing is creating conflict, creating confusion in the mind, and drawing energy away from you into it. Humans have long been told that they are the top of the food chain and we only eat everything below us. Well, I guarantee you the food chain is quite longer than that. There are things that eat us too. And you have to, if you can't clean the parasitic beings from you, you have to at least weaken them to a degree that they're not draining your energy. So I would recommend that as an important step. In fact, I think that's something that needs its own video actually, but I'm just going to put that out there. That's a really important piece to the puzzle. Along with that is, as I found out this week, as soon as you're going to start sharing anything with people, you might start getting attacked psychically for attempting to be of help in this time. So protection can also become a really valuable tool for you. There's lots of ways, of course, to do that, and I don't want to say one set of specifically protection tools or techniques is better than another. You'll find something that at least seems to help you in some way, so that's a really valuable thing. I've never said this to anyone before as a suggestion, but because we're having basically a magic spell put on the human population. Again, that's why it's so hard to deal with the masses, because the masses have been charmed by the spell. So if you are not charmed by the spell, probably if you're watching this, you're at least having some of the spell broken a little bit. Mine broke 20 years ago. Maybe yours is just breaking now, I don't know. But you may need to actually learn a bit of magic on your own, particularly some type of protection magic, some type of, I hate to use the word shamanic tools because that's not the right word for it, but natural ways of protecting yourself physically and mentally. So you may, because you have to recognize what's actually happening on a larger scale now, you may need to do more to, I don't want to say block it necessarily, that might not be the best word to use. Transform what's coming to you is better, because if you block it, then in a sense you're fighting like a war against it, and that's not going to win. You've got to try to take the magic spell that's coming in, transform it, change it, alter it, and so it goes through you and out. But it doesn't just go through you as the same charmed spell. It transforms and moves outward. I'd recommend that. Another thing I don't usually recommend, of course, if you're watching the video, you haven't met me for the last 20 years, so you don't know what I've been talking about. But normally, I'm very careful in suggesting people to be having a lot of sex in their life, just because it's often a place that creates more problem than not. It creates potential energy losses for people. It produces a lot of just doorways that potentially, if you're not sure what you're doing, can cause issues. I know that the Korean Zen monk I spent time with used to tell us, don't have sex, not because it was bad, but because he just claimed we didn't know what we were doing. And once we knew what we were doing with it, then you're fine, go ahead. And of course we didn't like to hear that, because we wanted the teacher who told us to have as much as possible. But I understood what he was talking about in time, understood the intention you have to have into going into these encounters. But now in the time we're living in, it's another thing that in a sense can become a type of magic, a type of tool, that if you start learning how to enter the sexual act in a way of producing a protective energy, almost like a protective cocoon between the two of you, that can also have a really good effect on blocking the magic spell. But don't just start thinking you're going to do that. I'd recommend really looking into it a bit and really trying to figure out how to make that happen. But that's another thing I would suggest to people. And of course, it's also a way of keeping your humanness during this period, right? Everything that you can do, that would be, I guess, the next check mark on the list, is do what you can to keep your humanness. You might say the only thing you're here to do in this reality is be a human. The trees around me, they're here to be trees. The rock I'm sitting on is to be a rock. The cows that are in the field over there mooing, they're meant to be cows. They're not meant to be something else. So all the other things you do, all the other things you go through, all the other things you might transform and change and become, at the base, you still need to be human. If you're not human, then the rest of it kind of doesn't matter. So all the things that mean humanness to you, and I mean again, inner Gnostic. What does the inner Gnostic inside of you, what does the inner wisdom tell you? This is what being human means. Those are things you want to make sure you keep doing on a day-to-day basis. Keep your inner humanness to the highest level possible. What else did I write on my list today? Recognize that you may not have a lot of time for anything. We really don't know how things are going to play out. It's very difficult to know what's coming next. I've been watching this for 6 months, ever since things first started in China back in early January. And I've been able to predict some of what's been coming. I've been able to be 2 or 3 steps ahead on a few things, and a lot of times I've just been caught off guard. I had no idea. The things looked like it was going one way, and it just all of a sudden turned to another way. So you're going to have to expect a lot of changes, a lot of surprises, and the best thing to do is be as prepared as you can for what you can be prepared for, and use your time wisely in all areas. If there's things you want to do, if there's things you've been meaning to do it now. Don't think you're going to wait 6 months or a year or 2 years. Do it like right now, today. If there's something you want to say to somebody, or there's a comment you've wanted to make, or certainly if it's something nice, if there's something nice you've wanted, I wanted to say something nice, or I think I should apologize to that person, or I think I should, you do it like right now, today, because you have to start recognizing we don't really know what kind of time frame we've got and what the time frame is going to look like 6 months from now. 6 months from now, things might look utterly fantastic. The spiritual war might be over, and we might be in an even better place than we were before. Great. If that happens, nothing you've done that is what you might call things that are important to you, or things you've wanted to do, or things you've wanted to say with somebody or share, will be wasted. They will be appreciated at that time. Don't think, though, you can wait 6 months and things will be as you want them to be. Things might be in a really difficult place. So, yeah, do what you feel is important to do now, particularly if it's something that is helpful, useful, positive. And again, if you just saw the video I made before this, my Conscious TV update, where I talk about the darkness and the light, and you kind of need to know more what the situation is, what's really going on, see it clearly, because then that does allow you to transform yourself into a more light creature. And there's another example of why you can't help the masses. The masses are heavy, they're not light. They're not on sort of Ma'at's featherweight in the Egyptian weighing of the heart. They're on the heavy side. So on the heavy side, not being light, they are going to be easily affected by darkness. Now, it's not that you don't want to. Again, you have to see the darkness. You have to know the darkness. You have to know it intimately, and you have to know your own darkness intimately. But you don't want to hold it. You want to transform it into light. Of course, eventually you will transform the light too. That's way beyond where we are here. You don't want to keep the light either, because if you just keep the light, then you're still trapped in duality, right? The whole point of completing the journey is to release the dark, release the light, and be gone. But you can't release the dark. You can't release the light without knowing the dark. And that's the one positive of what this spiritual war is going on. It's giving people an unbelievable opportunity to see the hidden darkness of this place, because the darkness is equal to the light, but the darkness is much more hidden. It's dark, you don't see it. Light is much more easy to see. So this is giving a chance to really see the darkness. That's another thing. Don't be afraid to see the darkness. Don't be afraid with your group of 5 or 10 transformative friends. I really like that word, transformative friends, to discuss darkness and understand it and see how the darkness works. Try to keep it. Try to not to make it into a religious thing. Try to keep it as clear as possible as what you're seeing, so that you're free to make judgments on what you're experiencing and what you're feeling out, without a belief structure around it. You may choose to make a belief structure later, but try not to take a belief structure into it. Try to instead go in as clear as possible and let your findings, particularly with your various spiritual transformative friends you've got, to see what you as a group of like-minded people can determine of where you are and what's going on. I guess that's all for now, that I had written down on my little sheet of paper, I think. I assume there will probably be a part 3 at some time. This is an ongoing situation. I'll be curious to see how my week goes after posting this compared to the week I just went through. By all means, share in the comments, drop a note, let us know how you're doing, let us know what you're experiencing, let us know your feeling of how you are dealing with a spiritual war, because like I say, well, I'm certainly hoping it will turn itself down and it will potentially I don't think it'll ever switch off, but at least you might say weaken. At this point, I'm not confident that that's going to happen shortly. So by all means, how can you work with what you're working through? I've just given my suggestions. I've given the suggestions I've gone through of my own life experiences and my own 20 years of digging into all this material and alchemically working on myself. It's a great opportunity for an inner journey. It's the more difficult things become, the more possibilities of your inner journey there is. Now, of course, that doesn't mean you want difficulty all the time, because you eventually have to get to places where you can take a break and you can appreciate where you've come. That's the best way of saying it. To reach a difficult, hard work, but then reach a plateau, get a break, enjoy what you've done before the next plateau starts. So, but right now, that worldwide, we're in a challenging place, and that challenging place, though, does mean great possibility for inner work and inner transformation. And again, I can't say this enough. Don't waste your time on the masses. The masses are going to be where they are. Work on yourself, and work with a small group of people, like-minded people who you both trust and who trust you, and that maybe each of you can help each other. And that transformative step, then, while you take it alone, you might get to take it with another 5 or 10 people at the same time. And don't wait. Don't wait to start. Don't wait to begin the process. Don't wait to do what you have to do. So we'll see what the next video comes in another week, after I've had time to again think about where this has gone and what I'm hearing. And it's it all changes on a day-to-day basis. What's great is I started this talk in pretty much darkness and cold, and we're ending now in some light. In fact, it's light enough I almost need my sunglasses. We're ending with some light and still a bit of a cool breeze, but it's much more comfortable out here. So let's hope that's a energetic sign and an energetic sign for the people watching the video, sharing this, that are sharing this with me, because I'm not just making this alone. I'm not making this in a vacuum. I wish I'd been sharing for the last 15 or 20 years. Certainly for the last 10, I haven't shared anything at all. And sometimes I feel that was incorrect to do. I should have been more out there over the last 10 years, but okay, I'm here now, and there's a lot of stuff in my folders that hasn't gone into any books, hasn't been shared with anyone yet, and I'll get to all that in time. It's just going to take me some time to get through the various things that would be chapters of upcoming books and get them available. So again, let's take the change. Oh, now it's hot actually. Now it's actually gotten quite warm. So let's leave it at that. We all started the journey in a cold darkness at the beginning of the video, and let's see if we can, with our spiritual friends, transformative friends, transform into much warmer, much happier individuals. Good luck, everyone. Let me know how things are going. We'll figure out what part 3 needs to be.